You know, for all of human history, there's been one constant, one thing we could always count on. We are the most intelligent species on this planet. But what happens when that changes? What if we actually invent something that can outthink us, outinvent us, and eventually evolve so far beyond us that we can't even comprehend it? Look, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot anymore. It is the question that top researchers and developers are wrestling with right now. All right, let's get into it. To really understand where this is all going, we have to be super clear about where we are today. The AI you use every day, the one that recommends your next show or generates a wild image from a text prompt, yeah, it's powerful, but it's a very, very specific kind of smart. This is what we call artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI. The easiest way to think about it is like a specialist, a savant. It can absolutely dominate a grandmaster at chess or write perfect code in seconds, but it can't take those skills and suddenly figure out how to cook dinner or compose a piece of music. It is a master of one thing, brilliant in its lane, but totally lost the second it steps outside of it. And that right there is the key. The difference between the specialized ANI we have today and the next big leap. It's not just about getting better, it's about getting broader. We are talking about going from a single-purpose tool to a general-purpose intellect. And believe me, that changes everything. So how do you make that jump from a specialized tool to something more? Well, that brings us to the next massive stage. What is basically the holy grail for AI labs all over the world? Artificial General Intelligence, AGI. This is the point where a machine stops being just a tool and starts becoming a peer. So if ANI is like a hammer, a single tool, then AGI is the whole workshop. It's an intelligence that could, say, learn physics, then apply that knowledge to engineer a bridge, and then use its understanding of language to write a poem about that bridge. It can literally transfer knowledge across different areas and solve problems it has never, ever seen before, just like a person can. So, hold on. If AGI can perform basically any mental task a human can, then we're forced to ask a really uncomfortable question. If it can think like us, reason like us, and eventually learn even better than us, what does that mean for our place in the world? Because the journey doesn't just stop at AGI, it doesn't stop at being our equal. Once an AI gets to that human-level general intelligence, the very next step could happen way, way faster than we can possibly imagine. And this leads us to the final stage. This is the concept that both completely fascinates and absolutely terrifies researchers. The creation of a superintelligence, born from something they call an intelligence explosion. Now, I want you to really pay attention to this definition. An artificial superintelligence, or ASI, isn't just a little bit smarter than us. The gap in intelligence will be something like the gap between us and an ant, right? We don't hate ants, but we will pave a highway right over their entire colony without a second thought. That is the kind of intelligence gap we are talking about. So how on earth does that happen? It's a process called recursive self-improvement. It starts when we create an AGI that's smart enough to understand and rewrite its own programming, so it makes itself a little bit smarter. But now that slightly smarter version is even better at improving itself. You see where this is going? It creates this runaway feedback loop, an exponential curve of intelligence that could just spiral completely beyond our ability to predict or manage it. An intelligence that is improving itself at a speed we can't even process would operate on a timescale we just can't compete with. Decades of human progress could happen in the blink of an eye. This is the moment we slam into what is known as the control problem. And look, this is not some fringe theory. Hundreds of the world's top AI scientists, researchers, and tech executives, we're talking the heads of OpenAI, Google DeepMind, Anthropic, they all signed this statement. To them, this risk isn't theoretical. They believe it is right up there with pandemics and nuclear war. Which means we are standing at a crossroads, staring at a technology that could solve our biggest problems, but might also pose the ultimate risk. And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important question of all. The path to superintelligence is paved with unbelievable promise and existential danger. The choice we make, whether we accelerate, regulate, or just stop, could be the last great decision humanity ever gets to make. The question really isn't if this could happen anymore. It's what are we going to do now